これはオーデンです。Eh? Well, I guess in the end, you are what you eat. Good morning, everyone. Or if you're not watching this in the morning, what's up, I guess. I hope you're all well prepared for this flashback. It's going to be taking a while. But from what we got from this first chapter already, I honestly wouldn't mind all that much if it went on for a couple of chapters. And even though this chapter mostly served as a setup for the introduction of Oden, I not only got hungry from reading it, but we actually also had a bunch of quite interesting details in there. And of course, a couple of fascinating new characters. I guess the series will be a great way to get us into the new year. So grab yourself a cup of coffee or whatever your favorite hot or cold beverage of choice is, and let's get into this chapter. Roll the intro. Okay, let's do this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably way more excited about this flashback than is adequate, but I simply love the vibes we're getting from Wano in this chapter. Chapter 960 of One Piece is out, and I definitely didn't expect it to be as lighthearted as it turned out to be, but it was amazing. Getting to know the country as it was supposed to be, I feel, really helps us appreciate the urgency of taking down Kaido and Orochi a lot more. As always, make sure to share your thoughts about this chapter in the comments, and if you enjoyed this review, consider giving it a thumbs up as well. Today, we're actually gonna start with a quick mention of the cover story. Not because anything significant has happened yet, but simply because seeing the statue of Usopp on Dressrosa was an awesome little nudge by Oda. Otherwise, I'm still convinced that Badge's quest to find Lola will be important for Wano. But right now, things are pretty unexciting in this regard, I feel. So let's immediately turn our attention towards Wano. And by Wano, I mean the real Wano. Green, prosperous and peaceful, with no sign of factories or eroded wastelands. The Wano 41 years ago looks as beautiful and mythical as I had hoped. And to be completely honest, it makes me a little sad that we haven't been able to experience it like that. Even if Kaido's steampunk take on historic Japan also has its own flair, I guess. The first familiar face we see in this chapter is that of Otsuru, who looks significantly younger, which I guess is to be expected if you go and take off 41 years. Nonetheless, it makes me wonder whether her unique features today are simply meant to signify old age, or if it's something else. Because I still suspect Tsuru to have a secret. Anyway, we see her serving a couple of customers in the tea house who have just caught a white boar, which apparently is highly valuable for its rarity and because they're considered heralds of the gods. Interestingly enough, one of the men who caught it suggests that the mountain where they found the young boar was moving. Foreshadowing for later in the chapter, where it turns out that it was actually the mother of the young boar that then went on to attack the flower capital. Otsuru meanwhile notices a young man trying to steal money from her wallet, and it is no one less than a young Yakuza Kinemon. Interestingly enough, Kinemon appears to have had a different hair color in his youth than now, so I'm super curious to see the color scheme for his young self. In general, I think young Kinemon has a very cool look to him that almost reminds me a little bit of Frankie. As we will later learn from Hyogoro, Kinemon was actually considered to be extremely strong, which makes it even more surprising that Tsuru has no problems taking him down. But apart from that, seeing the flashback open with a 20-year younger Kinemon and his future wife really seems like the best choice in my mind at least. After all, the purpose of this flashback is not only to introduce us to Oden and give us more insights into the past, but I feel also to create a stronger bond to the Nine Red Scabbards for the readers. Going back to the similarity to Frankie though, we can see the young samurai ambushing the group from the tea house to take the white boar for himself. All of that while wearing nothing but a cloth around his waist. Admittedly though, this might simply be because Otsuru decided to take everything he had on him to make up for his debt. While Kinemon makes his way back to the capital to bring the boar to his boss, we get introduced to no one less than Oden's father, the last shogun of Wano, Kozuki Sukiyaki. And I have to say that I really love his design. With his top knot and unique beard, Sukiyaki looks like a true warrior. As we barge into the palace, he is right in the process of being read his son's history by his advisor, who suspiciously looks like he could be Kyoshiro's father. Oden's childhood truly prepares us for the type of character that Momo's father will turn out to be. Throwing his wet nurse through the room as a baby, catching rabbits at 2, killing a bear with a boulder at 4, roaming the red light district at 6, getting drunk and fighting with gamblers at 8, and starting a feud with a yakuza at 9, before being sentenced to work in the quarries by reaching 10. If you should be familiar with Greek mythology, the parallel Oda is trying to draw here is quite striking for me. Oden is the Hercules of the One Piece world. This comparison gets even more striking when you look at the 12 labors of Hercules, that include capturing the Erymanthian boar, a feat that it looks like Oden will kind of repeat in the next chapter, as well as diverting a river to clean the Augean stables, something that Oden did to end a drought in the capital, even if a little bit unsuccessfully. These were the 4th and 5th labors. The 3rd was to capture a fast animal, something Oden did as well, and the first 2 were defeating monsters, something Oden did with the bear as well. So I guess when you look at all these parallels, you could theorize that Oden's flashback will be Oda's take on the history of Hercules. Anyway, back to the palace of the Shogun. After hearing that his son Oden had built a harem from the capital's women, who had actually come willingly to a temple he worked at, a habit that resulted in the so-called harem revolt that led to many victims at Oden's side, his father Sukiyaki decides to disown his son, as we have already learned before. But I mean, just the circumstances of this are... my god, what a character. This story is gonna be amazing, I just know it. In the meantime, Kinemon has made it back to the capital, and it seems like he really was a hot-headed character in his youth. As we learn in only 2 panels, he has made enemies with bounty hunters and the Yakuza family of Hyogoro alike for stealing their money. But the next character we get introduced to now is a really interesting one. Because now we get to meet Denjiro, who we can see tricking a street vendor into giving him a big clay pot for the price of a small one. It's a really short sequence, but it already gives us a great first impression of the type of character that Denjiro is. And of course, being the only scabbard that we haven't been introduced to yet, I think you can be honest and say that we all were giving our best to find out who he looks like the most. And what is the conclusion I came to? Well, please correct me, but I would say that we are looking at Zoro's master Kushiro in his youth. I mean, with the long black hair and the glasses, and the exact same shape of his face? And if that isn't enough proof for you, what about the sword he's wearing? Aren't we all awfully familiar with it? Where are the Zoro fans here? Guys, this looks strikingly similar to Zoro's Wado Ichimonji, right? And to be fair, with all the parallels we have gotten so far between Kushiro and Wano, I feel like this would make perfect sense. Being 51 at the moment, Kushiro would have been 10 in this flashback. And I feel like that's an age you could make an argument for in this panel. Definitely make sure to let me know what your thoughts are on this. As we find out, Denjiro belongs to the same Yakuza clan as Kinemon. When the 2 bump into each other in the capital, Denjiro explains to him that their boss was only interested in the small boar to summon his giant parent and crush their competition, in other words, the Hyogoro family. Right then, the giant mother shows up and starts destroying the capital. Before we now go and take our first proper look at Oden, I just want to say that I'm in love with the fact that all these mythical creatures are in Wano. The giant boar with his child not only remind me of the 7 deadly sins, but also make me super curious what other creatures we are going to encounter in this country. And how well does Kaido and his Zoan army fit into this setting, if I dare say. But now let's finally take a look at Kozuki Oden, the man who we all thought by now might just be a silhouette forever. And having finally seen his face, I have to say his design is really awesome. Having the broad face of a samurai, Oden wears a round hat and thick ribbons around his shoulders. And with his long black hair and his muscular body, he truly looks like the badass character that Oda has tried to making out to be. And the circumstances under which we're introduced to him couldn't be more telling of his character, I guess. Because he is having a pot of Oden on the cremation fire of a deceased citizen. I mean, What is up with that? That is so weird. As it turns out, however, Oden used to actually know and be friends with that guy. So in a way, I guess it is his twisted way of saying goodbye. When he's done, he says his condolences to the family and makes to leave, at which all the women seeing him pass start to get super excited. Seriously, what's with this character? Before we assess this chapter, I also don't want to forget to mention the young man accompanying Oden. He has a quite striking face, which I feel makes it quite likely that he's actually an important character. I couldn't tell you, however, if this could be one of the scabbards or just someone completely new. I'm excited to learn more about this guy though, and I'm definitely pumped to get introduced to new characters and learn more about the history of Wano. So, what can we say? I think starting with this chapter, we are in for a real treat. We are basically getting a small story arc within the story that might last for quite a bit. I would expect this flashback to last a lot longer than Robin's or Law's, for example. I mean, of course it's possible that Oda will split it into pieces, but nonetheless I think we will be following Oden's story for quite some time now. After all, he has been made out to be one of the most significant personalities in the entire story. And after seeing this first impression of him, I have to say, what a crazy character. I'm so excited to see more of this man and see him interacting with all the legends of the past. I don't know about you guys, but I feel you can definitely tell how in love Oda is with drawing his backstory. All in all guys, this chapter was great. It was a real shift in tone and pace from the last bunch, but I'm so excited to see all of this. Getting to explore more of the past and Wano itself is something I've really been waiting for, and I haven't been disappointed so far. But now, definitely make sure to let me know what your thoughts are on this. What do you think of Oden, Denjiro and co? And what expectations and hopes do you have for this flashback? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and share this video and hit the subscribe button if you aren't part of the crew already. But of course, as always, you can also dislike, not share and unsubscribe. It's a free world, people. I hope to see you around next time, and until then, have a great week.